Okay. Happy Spiritual Sunday to all of you. Since our topic is happiness, we'll give them a moment. So I have a silly joke to ask you. What's blue and smells like red paint? What's blue and smells like red paint? Blue paint. Okay. Okay. Exactly. All right. So starting us off with that, since our topic is happiness, but of course, before we get started, we want to wake up once again on a deeper level, ingraining it more in our consciousness. And as our new friend, Maria, who is here, she gave me an inspiration. So I'll share that before we start the affirmation. You know, we've talked often about the idea of discovery. Nothing is new in the universe. Everything that we think is so modern, the cell phone, the computer, the spaceship, everything existed from the Big Bang 14.5 billion years ago. So science says, well, but they just discovered it. So we learned the last few years, you take apart that word, discover, means it's been covered up for 14.5 billion years. It's not that it didn't exist and suddenly we brought it into manifestation. We are not the creator. So we cannot create, we can mold, we can shape, we cannot create. So we discover the science and the resources or whatever to put together the cell phone and the spaceship and all this stuff. So when Maria just reminded me or just awakened in me, she was saying, as many of us in various ways, we're disillusioned with something, the way we grew up, whatever it may have been. We're disillusioned. And when she said it, it caught my attention. From Kabbalah 1, basically class 1, we learn this world of the five senses is an illusion. Meaning, not that it doesn't impact us, but what the result is, what the consequence of any event in our life is in our hands. Or often like we talk about, you know, two people go to watch a movie, and at the end of the movie, one says, I hated it, and one says, I loved it. Well, it's the same movie. How could one hate it and one love it? Illusion. Everybody decides what the illusion is for them. So when she used the word disillusioned, I realized the same idea. We're caught up in something. We tend to think this is how it goes. This is it. This is what I've been taught. This is the way the world goes. And when we see it's not bringing the fulfillment and the joy and the happiness we're supposed to have, because we all feel it implanted in our soul, then we get disillusioned. We are now removing the illusion. We don't want to be in that illusion anymore. So as many of you know, I've shared often, when my mother died in 1977 and I was on my way applying to medical school, I, in essence, as I never thought of it that way, I've shared it in other ways, but I became disillusioned with the idea of medicine. And please don't take it disrespectfully if you're new to this. It's just the idea I wanted to remove pain, suffering, and death. And watching the process my mother went through, I realized medicine didn't have the technology to do that. It wasn't that they don't have a desire and they want to help. No, they do, but they don't have the technology. 200 years ago, they didn't have a technology for a cell phone. Didn't make them bad people. They just didn't have the technology. So that's when I got shifted into the spiritual path. So thank you again for my mom, for however you want to understand it, that she left the world in such a way that I got disillusioned and she opened my eyes to the 99%, what we call the reality, the true reality that exists all around us, in every other person, but we don't see it. We, with our blockages, cover it up. Then we get caught up in either discovering, we want to take the cover away, or we get disillusioned. Ooh, okay, just quickly, and then we'll go on, because I want to make sure we get to happiness since it's the month of Pisces. How many of you have ever had a friend or even a job? Let's stick with a friend. The friend looks like a friend, looks like a friend, looks like a friend all these years, always hanging around, but we don't see the illusion that they're only there because of what they're getting from us. But we're caught up in the illusion and we don't see that. And then one day we need them or we ask something and suddenly they're gone. And now in essence, we're disillusioned by them. We thought we had a friendship. We, knew each other since we were 4 years old, things like that. We get disillusioned. But no, reminds us, we removed the illusion. We were caught up in the illusion. They have their side, we have our side. But we were caught up in the illusion in that case that they were our good friend. But it's because we weren't paying attention. And then when the challenge happened, when they didn't show up or they left or whatever it may have been, suddenly now the illusion disappears. And we see reality. We see the truth, that they weren't really a friend. Hopefully, what you and I are learning here in the Kabbalah Center and on Spiritual Sunday is how to take that one experience of disillusioned, where we're removing the curtains or the veils over our eyes, over our five senses, and apply it to everything in our life. So, as in that case, if a person has gone through that, in the moment they get disillusioned by a friend who they thought, don't get disillusioned to friendship. Let's just make sure that's clear. We're disillusioned, we thought they were a friend. But then use that to pause and look around your life and say, what else might I be falling into the illusion? And this is essentially everything we're talking about here. What are the illusions and what can we do to replace illusion with reality? And that's why, other than these few minutes, we start off in the beginning of Spiritual Sunday with our affirmation. So let's put it here on the screens for you here. For those of you following us around the world, we say it together because we want to use this light, this spiritual awakening, to remove another layer of the illusion that doesn't allow us to see reality. And therefore, if we can't see the reality, we can't express the light of our soul, and we can't receive the blessing and the benefit of that light. So we say it together. Consciousness is everything. I raise my consciousness today to see the miracles and wonders of life. I commit myself to behave with greater love, compassion, and kindness towards all human beings. Because that's also, in fact, we're talking about happiness today, because everybody wants to be happy. So why aren't we happy? In fact, thank you, Maria, for starting us on the illusion. Why aren't we happy? Because the illusion gets in our way. Which person on earth doesn't want to be happy? Everybody does. One of the secrets I want to give to you today, maybe you've learned it, we'll put it together a little differently, but there's nothing that we do, nothing that we do or a person on earth does that isn't, one, an attempt to have happiness, and two, doesn't give us happiness. Everything we do gives us happiness. Everything. Even the screaming, the yelling, the running away, the fighting, the biting, even that. Yes, we learn here in the center over and over again. It's instant gratification, instant happiness, and then it disappears. But even in that moment, we're getting a sense of happiness. Yeah, illusionary, but it's still happiness. So there's nothing we do that doesn't give us happiness. Nothing. Whether it's in the moment or long term. So you and I are learning how to do that which will give us long-term happiness. Not just short-term and then disappear. Not for a short while and then go away. We want eternal happiness because that's what the Creator gave us. So let's start realizing, yes, after the fact, like we said, disillusioned. For all those years, I thought they were my friend and they were always hanging out and this. I was happy. But at the moment they weren't there because of the illusion, right? Ask them for something, they have to share a little uncomfortably, they have to as we'd call it, a real friend, then they disappear. Okay, so for that moment, I might be unhappy. But at the same time, what are we learning? When I'll pause for that moment, I say, you know what? Yes, it's a little painful that I thought they were my friend for all those years. So there's a little pinch that was taken away, right? Like you take the Band-Aid off the wound, hurts a little bit. It pulls the hair on your skin, or it pulls the skin. But after that, when I've disillusioned myself, now I'm happier because you know what? That person who wasn't really a friend is out of my life. That energy of limitation is out of my life. So I wish them well and I send them light, but now I'm looking for somebody to replace them, a real friend, somebody who we have a soul friendship. That will be there, I'll be there for them, and they'll be there for me. So we want that same idea with happiness. If I can start to see what's not making me happy, but because of my illusion, then I can start to decide what stays, what goes. But I don't want to reactively get rid of them. That's what we said. That's the temporary fulfillment. Oh, this person didn't treat me right, didn't give me what I want. Away. I leave them, never see them again, push them out of my life, scream and yell at them. Sure, they may disappear, but if I didn't change, I'm going to just replace them with another false friend or false business person or whatever it may be. Or another false idea. People replacing one false idea with another. Okay, let's go on to a little more about happiness. So remember the light. How big is the light? It's infinite. If the light is infinite, the thing that the Kabbalists keep reminding us, and I just read again in the Zohar from one of the great Kabbalists, the thing that's essential, he says, the number one thing to keep in our mind, the light is infinite and that's all there is. As we've spoken sort of a little bit, but specifically a few weeks ago, we talked about singularity. Specifically, there's only the light of the Creator, that's it. We need to keep that at the forefront of our mind. There is nothing other than the Creator, the light force. And as the Kabbalists say, there's no junior partner to the Creator or the light. It's the light. Period. End of the story. So why is it we don't see and experience infinite light all the time in our life? So Rav Ashlag, the founder of the center, he puts it in simple terms. Yes, the Creator gave us light, filled our souls with light. We decided to come into this world to be able to act like the Creator, manifest our light, and have eternal happiness, have eternal bliss. So then what Rav Ashlag wrote very specifically, that's not always easy to keep in mind when we're being triggered, but everything is a process. We came out of the endless world into this world. If you don't remember this or you haven't heard this, go back to Kabbalah 1. Take it again. I was telling somebody yesterday, you cannot take it enough. They tell me, yeah, but I've been in the center 20 some odd years. And I said, well, I don't care. You can't take Kabbalah 1 enough. I'm in the center. I'm teaching Kabbalah 1. I can't take it enough. It just happens in my case, I have the good fortune to be able to take it while I'm sharing it with everybody else. But don't ever think that I'm not taking the class when I'm giving it. Don't think like this, like today. I had a new revelation today, disillusioned. Did I not understand the illusion and all of it? Yes, but you put the dots together in such a way, it has a greater impact. And that's why, if it sounds the same and you go, oh, I heard that before, why is it repetition? It's not about what you heard, it's about you haven't changed. You're taking it in the same way, you're taking it in the same consciousness, and therefore it's not changing you. But if you've changed, you'll see the same thing in a new way, will inspire you and motivate you to want to grow more and do that which you need to grow more. But if it's the same old, then it's not because of what's around you or who, it's because you're the same old. Sorry to say it, but we need to wake up. And I'm talking to me as much as to you. All right? Okay. Now, so Rav Ashlag is telling us everything's in a process. It's the process of essentially doing what? Taking the light, because if the light is infinite, then when is it shining on us? 24/7. The light, the collective light, the infinite light is constantly shining on us. Like attracts like. So it's also activating the light inside of us constantly. But we have wrapped some of our light in jealousy, fear, ego, insecurity, guilt, shame, greed, all of their reactive behaviors. So the process is, when challenges come our way, we have to unwrap the negative emotion that's covering the light and let our light shine. It's not a complicated process. It's not difficult, or it's not complex. It's just difficult because we've so trained ourselves or allowed ourselves to be trained to look at the wrapping and not the light that's inside. So Rav Ashlag is reminding us we have to keep going with the process. We want to process, if you really want to get somewhere, do you get in your car, in your driveway, put the gas, turn on the car, put it in neutral, and now press the gas to the floor? Are you going to get very far? But you're expending a lot of energy. If you really wanted to physically get somewhere, let's say by walking, do you get on a treadmill? Is that too complicated? If you get on a treadmill, but you want to go from where you are, 3 blocks away, will the treadmill get you there? No, because it's the same old. You're expending a lot of energy. It looks like you're walking, but you're not going anywhere because it's a treadmill. So how many of us are on the treadmill of life? Same old. Find a friend, bad friend, find another friend, bad friend. Why? Because we didn't change. We didn't move forward in our process. We just exchanged one illusion for another. So yes, that's what makes Kabbalah so much effort. but at the same time, it's what makes it infinitely blissful. It's the thing that teaches us how most effectively, efficiently, and rapidly we can get from where we are to 100% happiness, 100% bliss. So yes, you got to work hard and you got to stay focused. My usual example, if you drive a car, and please take it in within the example, you're driving on a road 10 miles an hour, you don't have to pay so much attention. Please don't misconstrue, I'm not telling you to pay attention, but I say you don't have to be so focused. But you driving a car 150 miles an hour, you got to be very focused. You're getting to your destination a lot faster, you're moving a lot faster, but you got to be much more focused. So the same with our spiritual process. The faster we want to get to our peace and draw everybody collectively to heaven on earth, eternal happiness, the more we have to stay focused. So stay focused. The concepts are not complex. They're only difficult because we're not used to focusing like that. And we let one illusion replace another. So Rav Ashlag is teaching us every challenge is an opportunity to unwrap the next level of our light, the next blessing, the next gift from the Creator, the next gift from our soul. But we have to unwrap it. Now, in the process of unwrapping it, because it's a challenge. So of course, before the challenge, everybody wants to have free will. Don't tell me what to do. I want to make my own choice. God, don't tell me what to do. You gave me free will. I want to use my free will. In the midst of a challenge, when it's difficult, what are most people really saying, whether they realize it or not? God, take away my free will. Just come take care of this for me. I don't want to do it. You do it for me. It's too much for me. I don't know what to do. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. You either have free will or you don't. You can't give it up over here and not over here. Oh God, take away my free... No. You use your free will no matter what, even with other people. You can give them the right to control your life, or you can control your life yourself. That's your free will. But if you've given over to them the ability to tell you what to do and you're just going to do it, okay. So you and I are learning here, the root of every religion is Kabbalah, the Zohar. The Zohar does give us, as we keep learning here Sundays and in the Kabbalah Center, this is the technology. This is the eternal system. These are the universal laws. So if we really want to say, okay, light, take away my pain and suffering, take away my sadness and my unhappiness, here's the rules. Here's the laws you have to follow. Here's the things you have to do that will take away your temporary happiness and or your sadness and difficulty and replace it with long-term light, blessing, and happiness. So it's still following the rules, but we have the ability to follow the rules, don't follow the rules. How many people? Does anybody force us not to step off a third floor balcony? Not usually, unless people around you love you and care for you, right? But we have the free will. Don't believe in gravity. Step off the third floor balcony. Does it change the law of gravity? No, the law will still work. But it's a person's free will to use it or not. So too with the laws of the universe that we learn, that we teach out of the Zohar. The laws of the universe. They work, they're eternal, and we can learn how to use them to our advantage, which is what they're there for. So in this process, it's our free will. How are we going to act? And so in today's concept, what do we want to do? We want to embrace with happiness. Embrace the challenges with happiness. So I wrote myself, so let me give you an example. I think I've shared it recently, right? You embrace it with happiness. So when I was a kid, in fact, I think I said it last week too, no? Anyway, when I was a kid, so you go to the doctor as a kid, the pediatrician, I remember the doctor's name. I'm sure he's not in the world anymore, so I'll tell you his name, Dr. Strauss. Very nice man, right? I loved him as a kid, but every now and then, you're talking back early 60s. So, they say, you have to have this shot or that shot, whatever it was. So the nurse would come in with this hypodermic needle, and to me it looked like it was a foot long, and she'd say, roll up your sleeve and relax your arm. I'm looking at that needle. I know what happens when you stick a pin, right, in your finger, so I'm already feeling the pain, and she'd say, relax my arm? I'm rolling that up, and she's coming at me with this needle, looks like a foot long, going to go right through my arm, and she's telling me, relax. So of course I'm tightening it up because I don't want it to hurt. Well, of course, as you get older, you realize tightening it up makes all the muscle fibers dense, more dense, so the needle can't fit, let's say, around the muscle fiber. It's got to go through the muscle fiber. Of course that's going to hurt. If you relax, at least there's a chance that the needle will go around, right? Or let's say between the muscle fiber and it won't hurt. So you think in life it's the same way. We have the free will to embrace with happiness is what we want to do ultimately, the challenge. Or we have the free will, like tense up the arm, be tense, be anxious, be stressed out, be upset, be bothered, which means your spirit, every second of it is going to hurt. Now here's the other question. Ask yourself, we don't have the choice to be in the process. We're all in a process from 0 to 100. Right? Hopefully we're somewhere in the 40s, 50s, 60s, maybe 70s, but we're all in the process. So we don't have a choice to be in the process. We only have the choice how we go through the process. So ask yourself, what kind of people do you like to be around? The ones who are always grumpy, stressed out, always complaining about who, what, when, and where. They're always the bitter about what's going on in their life, this and this. Or do you like to be around the people who, even when they're dealing with challenges, happy? Which do you want to be around? Is it really? I hope it's not a real question, right? We want to be around the happy people. So then, when we are going through our process, who do you think people want to be around? Us when we're grumpy, us when we're unhappy, us when we're complaining, us when we're emanating that angry, tense, stressed out energy, or when we're happy through the process. That's it. Either way, we're going through the process. Either way, we're going from 0 to 100. We cannot stop it. So if you're already going through it, decide which is going to be better for you. Do you like being grumpy? Even those moments where here and there we get, like we said, instant gratification for being grumpy. But more than 5 minutes, you and me, do you really like that way? You like to be stressed out? Do you like to live on sapping the energy of your friends and family for sympathy? Oh, woe is me. Come, give me some of your energy. Woe is me. Give me some of your energy. No, you don't like to be an energy vampire because you know what it feels by other people. So you and I, at least once we're that way, we start to feel uncomfortable. We say, okay, now what can I do to get out of it? So we're learning today, just start embracing everything with happiness. If you embrace it with happiness, the beauty is, what is happiness? Happiness is opening our vessel, our consciousness, our soul, to activate more light, to receive light. And when you're receiving light, that's when you're going to have better ideas, more inspiration. I mean, think of it. If there's a metaphysical pipeline from your perfect soul, 100%, with all the solutions, everything you need, coming through the top of your head, and you're in the midst of a challenge, you don't know what to do, and you're trying to draw from your 100% that idea, that inspiration, the correct way to deal with whatever that situation is, but like a hose, that pipeline is twisted up with your anger, your fear, your resentment, your scare, your tension, whatever it is. How fast are you going to get that answer? You're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. Your soul can't help you. But you open it up, even in the midst of the challenge. Open it up. Relax. Relax. Tell yourself a joke, something. Open the channel. Then the light comes in. You get the idea. You handle the situation. You're feeling better. You move forward in your life. In the process, you just went from 60 to 65%. 5% more happiness, joy, peace, prosperity, protection, all the good blessings. That's the way the system works. It's our choice, nobody else. So I wrote down, I took from the Zohar, just you'll see, I'm not making this up. Some of it may be the way I say it, but I'm not making up the concept. So it says in the Zohar, because think about it, happiness. In fact, Michael Berg shared with us on the new moon of Pisces, because Pisces is supposed to be the month of happiness, right? Paradox is, it's also where all of our garbage will be squeezed more intensively to come to the surface. So he was reading from the Kabbalist. He says, happiness is our ultimate tikkun, we call it, our ultimate karma, our ultimate correction. Because if you're happy through the process, like we just said, easier, more peaceful, more joyous, and it speeds up the process because you get your answers quicker. So you're not on the treadmill of life doing the same thing over and over and over again. till you finally, hey, stupid, wake up. Listen to what your soul's telling you. We get it faster. So the Zohar says, if you want to look it up, Pekudei verse 667. For that reason, holiness, meaning the light, is joy. And the other side, the opponent, that parasite in our head that we've planted to be our challenger, is sadness. So you listen to the voice of the ego, the voice of that opponent that says, be fearful, be scared, you can't make it, you're not good, da 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 da. That's sadness. When you listen to the light that says, yes, I don't care what it looks like, there's a light, there's the right answer, will take away that darkness. The former, okay, happiness is good, the sadness, the other side is bad. The light, the holiness is the Garden of Eden, and the other side is hell. Also says, in Vayetze, if you want to look it up, verse 86, in the Zohar, as long as we are happy in the process, that parasite, literally it says, the angel of death, cannot prevail. Think of it, even in a simple way. You're walking down the street all happy, looking forward to the social event you're going to, etc. And as you walk down the street like you see sometimes in TV, you're walking on the sidewalk, a car comes by, tires in the water puddle, splashes you with a little water. What happened to your happiness? At least in the first second. Because you and I, we already know how. Pause. Okay, look at it. You know what? I'm happy anyway. But at least in the first second, what happens? Death to the happiness. That's what he's saying, just in a collective level. Right? We're always dying in some way every time we're reactive. You're happy, and then suddenly something happens. Fearful, anger, jealousy. So what happened to the happiness or the peace? Death. It in essence died, at least for the moment. So yes, so as long as we're happy in the process, which we're working to maintain all the time, then that angel of death, that challenger, the chaos, can't prevail. Chaos, even just the discord you have, the confusion you have, it can't prevail when you're happy. Because like we said, happiness is the vessel to get the answer, to figure out what to do. How to get the solution, how to move forward, how to take the darkness out of your life and move forward in greater light. In fact, in the prayers, in the various Kabbalistic connections, there's a word yismach, means to be happy. So the Kabbalists teach us, but what's the inner meaning? Because the words of a prayer, or the words of the connection, even the Kabbalistic ones, are the vessel. The consciousness behind that word is the soul, is the connection to the light. So they say that word, yismach, the meditation we put in our mind as we're reading it or saying it, is Mashiach, which is the word for Messiah, the end of all pain, suffering, and death. So where do you get your solution? Your salvation. Who is your Messiah? Who is your salvation? The moment you pause and you let the light come in, your soul, the answer that comes from the infinite light through the light of your soul, that saves you, no? That's your Messiah in the moment. So that's what you do. Happiness gives us that light. That's the whole point. You want to finish all the cast, be happy all the time. Because like it said, the other side, that angel of death, is sadness. It's unhappiness. It's all the discord. It's all the chaos. So as we're embracing, okay, you embrace the process easier. Tell yourself a joke. I don't care, whatever. The great Kabbalists, there's stories that they used to tell jokes every now and then. They would study for hours. But even in the study, the way they would study, we know, were revealing light for all the world. It's like the priests in the time of the temples, right? The high priest would go into what's known as the Holy of Holies within the Temple of Jerusalem once a year on the day called Yom Kippur. And if, in the right consciousness, if he was a pure conduit, because he had really opened himself up and was that pure conduit, he drew light on that one day through that space, that spiritual space called the Holy of Holies, to feed all the people on the planet. Light force, life force for 1 year. To be that conduit. So they would say, the Kabbalists at various times, they would tell jokes, right? If they were studying and revealing that light, and so to speak, the other side starting to get to them, however you want to call it, to sort of reawaken and re-enthuse them, they tell each other jokes out of that happiness. There's a famous story, one of the great Kabbalists, he was called, there was a kid drowning, right? Out in the lake or whatever, so they called him to help save him. Maybe he could, do his magic and save them. So the first thing, he goes out there, and of course, everybody there is tense. They're all looking at this kid, looking like, heaven forbid, he's about to drown. And the kid, like you could imagine. So he yells out, he says, "Hey, say hi to the whales for me." Yeah. Exactly. And everybody looks at it. So of course, he saves the boy. And he said, they all come up and say, why did you say that? He says, well, when you're all tense and stressed, the energy of the light can't come through. So I had to do something to take away that, like open up the pipe so that the blessing can come through and save him. So we can do the same thing. Watch a movie. I'm not saying sit for hours, but watch comedy, whatever is funny to you. Watch it for a few minutes, wake up that sense of happiness, and then go about your business, whatever it is. Why not? Why not take the time? Is it a waste of time? No, the waste of time is staying on the spiritual treadmill, going nowhere fast, expending all your energy, and not advancing. That's the waste of time. But that opponent says, no, you got to keep going. It's almost as if we think, if we're running fast on the treadmill, and maybe if we turn it up high enough, maybe like in the movies, it'll jump off the track and it'll actually go forward somewhere. It doesn't work that way. It's just the same thing again and again and again. Only a true transformation will move us forward. True transformation. So if we're embracing our process, now you understand why the first thing we teach, and in fact, the new way, even the name of the Kabbalah 1, maybe I hope it's okay, but for years we used to call it the basics of Kabbalah, then we had Kabbalah 1, we've given it a lot of names. So in the last few years we've come up, the first step of transformation is pause, what a pleasure. Now even the name of the Kabbalah 1 course, yes, we recrafted it, we put more effort in it, we put more things in it, but it's now pause, 10 weeks to transformation. But now hopefully with just these few minutes we talk about, you understand why is it pause, what a pleasure. Because when I pause is the only time I can get out of the realm of that opponent, that illusion, to start thinking, seeing, and drawing from reality, to actually do something that will not only get me out of the immediate tension, stress, unhappiness, sadness, but eternally reveal a new piece of my soul's light. That's the pleasure. And we're also learning now, making it clearer, that through the process, we want to be happy even in the process. Makes the process go quicker. We get to the next piece of our spiritual growth faster, and we have more blessing. Less chaos, more order, more harmony. Pause, what a pleasure. Pause, what a pleasure. The light's coming in, and finally I can get the answers. That's the enjoyment. And then when I express it, that's even more pleasurable, because chaos goes away, the discord goes away, the discouragement goes away, all the sadness goes away, and happiness replaces it. Okay. Our body, I wrote myself a note, our body will experience what's going on in our mind. Right? Mind over matter. All the 36 years I'm in the center, the Rav and Karen would always say, consciousness is everything. Consciousness is everything. Consciousness is everything. Today, 2,000 years after the Zohar was in writing, the scientists finally agreeing with us. In fact, now they have a very fancy name for consciousness is everything. Mind over matter. It's called epigenetics. And if the scientists say it's true, we have to believe it, right? Because the scientists have never been wrong, right? When I grew up, well, just before I was born in this lifetime, the molecule was the smallest particle of matter, right? That was the truth in science. Until they they pulled the cover away on the molecule and they found atoms. Now the atoms were the smallest particle of matter. And then they took away more coverings and they found out there's protons, neutrons, and electrons. So science keeps changing, again, because they're pulling the covers away. What would make science help us faster and more effectively? If they just went back like the great Kabbalist, Sir Isaac Newton. Yes, the one who's the physicist, the one who has a whole branch of physics named after him. All of his scientific discoveries came out of the Zohar. So the scientists would do themselves a favor, and all of the 8 billion people on the planet, if they would go back to the Zohar like he did and find out what they're missing, they wouldn't have to do so many experiments. Or the way I look at it, respectfully, but they're tearing apart the world to rewrite the blueprint that they could just go to the Zohar. That's the original blueprint. Smarter to look at the blueprint of your house than to tear all the walls apart to figure out how it was put together and then have to rebuild it anyway before you fix things. Go to the blueprint. So Isaac Newton taught us, he wrote more on Kabbalah than he wrote on physics. All of his ideas came right out of the Zohar. So the scientists today, if any of you know any, or you are, find someone who can share with you some Zohar. The Rav used to work with a scientist on cancer research. And it was amazing. For about 2 years, this guy would come. He'd ask the Rav, this is what's going on in the lab. What would the Rav do? And the Rav would give him answers. You know, try this, look at this. And he'd come back and tell us. He says, wow, this was working. This is working. They're seeing this and this. Sadly, I must tell you, why isn't there a cure for cancer? At least in this case. Because sadly, the opponent got him. His ego got in the way. He didn't want to listen to the Rav anymore. That was it. That was it. But he would tell us for 2 years. Yeah, the Rav would say, here, the Zohar talks about this or this or this or this, and he'd go in the lab and he'd find it. Okay, so the same with you and I. We're progressing. Then we get to that test that our opponent seems too strong, and the person doesn't want to persevere and pass the test. Too much. Okay, free will. But remember, we're all in a process, and there's no getting out of that process. Because God gave us 100%, we are ultimately going to reveal 100%. What you and I are learning is how to make the process faster, easier, and more efficient. In fact, okay, so let's go like this as we're closing. I'd like you to think of a situation in your life that you're going through now. Think of something that's stressing you out a little bit, putting a little pressure on you, whatever it may be. Think of something and start to use, because we're going to do our meditation to awaken happiness, one of the 72 names, as we're now doing every week. But think of that and just remember, if it's a situation that's bothering you, then at least be conscious that one way or another it's part of your process and you can't just escape it. Because if you try and run away from it, the process will follow you. May look like different people, may look like different cities, different jobs, different circumstances, but it's the same thing repeating itself over and over and over. So as of today, you understand you have two choices to go through the process: with the sadness, the stress, and the tension, or with happiness and joy. Looking forward excitedly to the infusion, that revelation, inspiration of the light of your soul giving you the right answer, and the joy and the happiness that will come from that as you apply it into your life. That's it. So, how are we going to do it? And this I've been sharing with a lot of students recently more because the process is speeding up. And I don't want to go into that now, but it's speeding up. So we are vessels. You understand that term. We were created by the Creator with a desire to receive joy and happiness eternally. So you cannot change that. The issue is what you and I are learning here is how to use our vessel, our desire for fulfillment, but use it in alignment with the light, meaning to be just pure conduits, vessels, if you will, pipelines of the light of the Creator. The opponent that we programmed in our head to ultimately give us a true sense of joy, happiness, and victory over the opponent, right? When a person listens to that, then they're going to go through the process with the pain and the suffering, etc. So if we're going to use our desire for fulfillment, so think of it this way. So let's say, think of Joe Smith is working in a factory, has his 8-hour shift, and for 8 hours he makes $100. So one day, for whatever reason, the boss comes to him near the end of his 8 hours, says, Joe, I really need you to work another 8 hours. So-and-so was sick, whatever it is. We need you this and this, and I'm going to pay you $100, right, for those 8 hours. So Joe might do it. Okay, but probably he's tired after 8 hours, this and this. More than likely, how's he going to go through those 8 hours? Happy and joyous? Not really, right? Could be anywhere from just a little annoyed or a little frustrated to a lot. But if the boss came to and said, Joe, I'm sorry, it's one of those things, can't avoid it. I need you to work another 8 hours. Same thing you do. Joe, I need you to work 12 hours. A 12-hour shift after your 8 hours. But I'm going to pay you $50,000. Now, do you think Joe is going to say, oh my God, I just worked 8 hours. He's not even saying 8, it's 12 now? Do you think Joe is going to be happy through those 12? It's going to go faster, or you think the 12 hours is going to go slower? Yeah, with the 50,000. Because Joe, like you and me, we're envisioning the 50,000. Pause, what a pleasure. 50 grand, he's usually making $100 for 8 hours. It'd be 150 for 12. He's getting 50,000, probably more than he made in a year for 12 hours work. He's happy those 12 hours. He's floating. He's dancing. It goes like this. You understand? That's us. When you're happy through the process, it goes quickly. When you're sad, it extends on and on and on forever. So you and I have to, and don't let your opponent say, well, you're making it all up. No. You have to make in your mind, whatever that process is and anything else that you'll go through, you have to put in your mind some reward of the light that's so big, like the 50,000 versus the 100, that opponent cannot stop you, cannot discourage you in that process. So you decide the light will bring you greater health or happiness or good relationship or more peace or protection or great kids or grandkids. Whatever is the greatest value in your mind, you up the value. Nobody decides the value. You and I decide. Nobody can tell. I don't care what a thing costs. You and I still decide, is it valuable to us or not? There are things out there that cost a lot of money that people will pay a lot of money for. To me, not worth it. Not worth it. Even if I had billions of dollars, not worth it. So it's not about what others say. It's what you and I determine. So the lesson is, wake up and put in your mind a greater value for going through that process than just the $100, the usual. Make it like 50,000, 100,000, a million, whatever it is, so that you follow, your vision will be that $1 million of light, that nothing going to stop you. You'll be happy through the process. You'll be joyous through the process. So I want to remind you, before I tell you a quick story at the end, Proverbs. And, we know nothing is random. So I must confess, last night as I was preparing like the last pieces of this, I thought, you know what? I went on my Facebook page to see what people's comments were, and however it jumps, me in technology, I see this, what do they call them? These little clips or something that people put on there. So I see one, it goes across the screen, Proverbs 17:22, which is why I'm telling you. A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. It's another way of saying exactly what we've been saying now. So I want to just close with this. Years ago, even before I came to Kabbalah, most of you know I was 10 years in these other studies, I was teaching, whatever. There was a famous story back then, so you're talking in the 70s, and if you know who it is, I'm not going to say, because whatever technology goes on. He was diagnosed with a terminal cancer, but he knew he could beat it. Where, how, I don't remember the story, and he wrote a book about it. He locked himself for weeks in a hotel room, took mega doses of vitamin C, and watched 20 hours a day, 24 hours a day, like that, every comedy show he could see to laugh the cancer away. And it was, after 3, 4, 5 weeks, whatever it was, cancer disappeared. He wrote the book, and it became inspiration to other people. So you and I, today, we're here in the Kabbalah Center. We have the most powerful technology on earth to eliminate pain, suffering, and death, which means not just disease, poverty, hatred, violence, insecurity, fear, every form of darkness can be eliminated with what we use here. Ultimately, the goal is eliminating the angel of death. Then everybody will just be light beings acting with greater love, kindness, and compassion, and all those good things. So, laughter, embracing the challenges with happiness, and using what we have, the most powerful vitamin Z, megadoses, the Zohar, is the medicine that will bring heaven to earth and bring eternal happiness to everybody. God bless.
A cheerful heart
is good medicine, and a crushed spirit dries up the bones. Thank you. Okay. So what I'd like to do now, as we do every week, we have our offering. We bless our offering because we cannot finish the job. In fact, I was just thinking, today, some of you have heard, we talked about it yesterday here in the center. Yesterday was supposed to be this day of hate, right? You didn't hear about it. Yeah, there were a lot of these, the hate groups, let's just call them that were trying to gather a group together, across the country, across the world, that they would go out to whoever it was they didn't like and hate. Nonviolent, which for me was a Kabbalistic wake-up, really was. Nonviolent, but they'd stand outside, different places of people they didn't like, and they'd scream at them, call them names, all that kind of stuff. So today, for us, and yesterday, we've decided spreading the Zohar, and that's, some of you who might like to participate, you can do that too, but we have people going all over the country, hopefully all over the world, in what we're calling a wave of love. But we cannot do that without your help, because we can't keep printing books unless we have resources. We can't keep bringing people to come learn unless we have resources. And I must tell you also this, which was a big revelation for me. Without all the details, in simplest terms, and I really want to bring it down to this, but we know consciousness is behind it all. And there are plenty of people today who could literally just write a check for enough resources to spread enough Zohar around the world, right? Teach enough people to raise their consciousness that we could get rid of the angel of death. But I've been realizing in these last couple years, even if we could go, let's say, directly to somebody who has the resource and say, hey, give us X amount of dollars. We're going to print these books in Aramaic. We'll spread them around the world. No more angel of death. Peace and harmony for all 8 billion people. Even if they could get that idea and say, okay, what the heck, here's that many billions of dollars. It still wouldn't work the same way. And I'm sharing with you now why. And it's very interesting because we just read yesterday the section of the book of Exodus where it says, God told Moses, ask of the spiritual people, what we understand the Israelites, to give truma, a contribution to build the tabernacle in the desert. And what the Kabbalists explain is, like you and I would understand in simple terms. Why did it say, ask of those whose heart is open to contribute to the tabernacle? One, we know the tabernacle was not just a physical building, it was the collective spiritual vessel to empower all the people on earth. It was a place that metaphorically the energy of the Creator could come down and have a place, so to speak, on earth, and could dwell in all the people who helped build that tabernacle. So I realized if you just get one person to say, here's the money you need, finish the job, it still wouldn't work in the same way. Why? Because the rest of the 8 billion people don't have the consciousness. So it says like Moses. How come Moses, probably the highest soul ever to exist, why couldn't he walk into what they call the promised land? It's not that, the Bible, if you look at the literal level, you know the story of the literal. It's not really literal, but it says, he did a little thing, a mistake, something that God told him not to do, right? God said, speak to the rock. He hit the rock, and they say, oh, that's why he couldn't go in. No, the Kabbalists say more powerful. Moses was such a vessel. He was that one being that could literally draw virtually the whole light of the Creator into this world. But it says, had he walked into that energy center called the land of Israel, the promised land, he would have brought down so much light that it would have destroyed the world because the rest of the people on earth weren't able to handle that energy. Like you plug your 110 appliance into 220 electricity, it can't handle it. So I realized in the same way, you and I, who are the students of the center, participants in the center, we have to contribute like we're taught in the book of Exodus. We have to contribute as our heart opens up to build this Mishkan, which is this, not only the physical Kabbalah centers, but it's the unified energy of all the people around the world who are connected with the center and contributing to the center. So we build the vessel. We're doing our job. That will magnetically, on a spiritual energy level, will awaken the souls of people who can give millions of dollars, billions of dollars, etc., and do that. So that we're building the right vessel, that then when the angel of death disappears, we all have the vessel to be able to handle the light and just finish the piece of darkness that we're holding. But it won't destroy the world. So this is why, for me, it's so essential, like when we do this, when we do the offering, that we bless it, we add consciousness, so that our heart is open and we're giving. As our heart opens up, that we want to contribute, because like anything else, I was telling the group yesterday, I had to renew my internet, whatever service. So you know me in technology. Anyway, without the details, so I'm looking through what they're offering, and whatever it is, and please, if I get that wrong, but you'll get the idea. So there's one price for a certain speed. Let me just put it that way so you'll get it, right? You pay whatever, $40 for a certain speed of internet, $60 for a higher speed, $80, like, right? What you pay is what you get. So you and I want to understand the same thing. This is why it says, those whose heart was open, urge them to give. But when you contribute in, you can only get from relative to the effort you make. So a person doesn't make much effort, but they give. So I'm not trying to be disrespectful. But if a person's giving less than they're capable, then they can only get the vessel that they're giving out of that collective energy. So we want to start opening our heart and realize, yes, if the Creator is the owner of everything anyway, if we're capable to give more, in this case, donating resources, money. But it's also talk to people about Kabbalah, inspire them. Your life changed? Inspire them. Use your talents and abilities to inspire people at least to try it out. Nobody's saying force them, but tell them your change of life. You know, go learn Kabbalah 1, see what it does for you, because it changed my life. That's all people want to know. Did it change your life? It will work. So you inspire them that way. So everything that we have, yes, we want to share. But in this case specifically now, yes, the resources help us pay the bills, help us expand the Zohar project, all of the projects of the center, and we've got a lot of ideas. Go on Kabbalah.com and look what we have. We have now children's programs, teens and preteens, amazing stuff coming out of it. We have the scholarship program for people who can't afford but want to come learn and change their mind. Go on the Kabbalah.com and look at some of the testimonials that they've given, and we have the Zohar project. So here, and if you're new, don't just dismiss what I'm telling you. I'm not telling you have to blindly accept it, but at least go investigate. Here in Florida, when's the last time you remember a big hurricane hit Florida?
Last year.
Really? It was a big hurricane? Yes. Like Wilma and all the rest of them? Oh, touched a little bit and this and this. But for 15, 16 years, since 2005, no major damage, even though hundreds have come towards Florida. Why? Because we covered the coast with Zohar. Yes, the last couple years, like you're saying, a little bit. So 15 years, we got a little complacent. But if you start looking at that, I can tell you stories about earthquakes that didn't hit people in California. I can tell you about things around the... okay, I don't want to make this all that miracle, but just in short term, 2004, when there was an international group gathered in Israel at the time. In the 3 days we were there together, two people, at least two that we heard of, two people who were on their way with suicide bombs, with bombing intent, went to the police, gave up, and said they don't believe that that's what their religion is teaching us, and they gave up. Now, coincidentally, we were there. 9/11, we were there. There's stories out of 9/11, people who had Zohar that didn't show up for work that day, were delayed that day. All kinds of amazing miracles happened. The Zohar is what the Zohar is. It's the light of the endless world. It is the tool that will take away the angel of death. So we need your help and support. So I know we're going a little longer, but I just wanted to thank you for your contributions and ask, yes, if you can raise it up, please do. Because the faster we can spread the Zohar and bring this wisdom to the world, the faster we get rid of the angel of death and all the chaos, the faster we all have our eternal happiness, our peace of heaven on earth. It really is that simple. So let's take this moment, you are who are online, let me put it there. This is the link to give for you. And those of you here, just hold your offering in your hands. We know that money is a vessel. And we want to inject our love and our light and our blessing. Because as the Kabbalists teach us in the lesson called Truma, where they contributed to the tabernacle, it says that which we are contributing is actually the power to elevate and intensify the blessings in the part that we haven't given. So if we're giving our 10%, the 90% that we're keeping is empowered by this donation. The Truma, which is the 20%, is empowering the 80% to do more, have greater blessing, greater power, greater holiness. So we're putting our love, our light, our blessing, our gratitude for all that the Creator gives us, is constantly giving us, to be able to have life, breath, talents, abilities, direction, clarity, and happiness. To see truth, to see reality, not only with the eyes of our heart, but also with our physical eyes, seeing through the illusion. And that we know as we're contributing into this collective tabernacle, Mishkan, temple, as in the temple of Jerusalem, but in our day today, we know we're receiving many, many blessings in exponential levels because of the oneness, the love, and the unity that we have here amongst us. And together we say, Amen. So I do, even though it's a little late, if you can stay with us. This is one of the 72 names. It's on the screen here. Those of you unfamiliar, the Hebrew letters are the DNA of the soul. They are particles of the light of the Creator. They are not a construct of any human being. They're primordial. So in this case, these letters Vav, Hey, Vav, they combine energies for happiness. So if they radiate light and our eyes are the window to the soul, just let the light that shines through this combination awaken a greater happiness that exists in the light in your soul. But it's waking up the unrevealed part, the dormant part. So just let the shapes be engraved in your mind's eye. And then if I can ask you to sit comfortably in the chair, in your seat, feet flat on the floor, hands comfortably in your lap. Taking a few deep breaths, breathing in through the nose. Hold the breath for a moment. Exhale through the mouth. Creating a circulation, not only of the breath of life, but the light within the breath that activates that true light of life within us. And as you're exhaling, letting go of whatever tension, stress, blockage, whatever other than the light you may be experiencing now. Just allowing yourself to relax into the warmth, into the comfort, to the embrace of the infinite light of the Creator, unconditional love. As you're feeling this embrace, this immersion in this truest light of the Creator and the power of unconditional love, reminding yourself it is always there. The light is infinite. It's always shining on you. Always available to help, support, inspire, guide. We just have to let it in. And so envision above your head this name of God, Vav He Vav. And see these particles, these light force particles shining with the bright white light of the endless world. And slowly allow these energies to enter through the top of your head, bringing with them an awakening of the happiness, true, lasting happiness that the Creator implanted inside you. Let the glow of this light and the energy of happiness shine throughout all of your being, from head to toe, that every cell physically and spiritually vibrating with unconditional happiness. Because we know we are filled with the light, completely surrounded by the infinite light. And we know this energy, this light, helps us to speed our process with greater mercy. And so we're awakening the happiness in our heart, soul, and mind through the activation with this energy, Vav He Vav. That our mind is thinking happier thoughts. Our eyes are envisioning whatever challenge we may be going through, whatever illusion of darkness, chaos we see in the world. We're focused, our mind, our thoughts, on the happiness within the power of the light. The power of the light to remove all darkness. And we let the light of the Vav He Vav in our hearts open our hearts to also extend happiness, love, and light to all the people in the immediate situations that we're facing. And allowing this flow of happy light of God to create a space to bring us inspiration, guidance, strength, clarity, and speeding up our process towards our 100%, and speeding up their process. And then let's together extend that light of the Vav He Vav, unconditional happiness, extending through those people we've sent it to, through them, to every human being on earth. Do we see the Vav He Vav that's implanted in the heart and soul of every person on earth, beginning to glow as if it just got turned on? We see the light shining through those energy force particles, Vav, He, Vav, in the heart and soul of every person. Turning on that light of happiness, dispelling the darkness of whatever lack, discord, hurt, sadness that they may be going through. Together we see that light taking away their darkness, uncovering the true light in their soul, unblocking their light actions of forgiveness, tolerance, love, peace, and unity. Take note and record it from this day forward. It will always be with you. The vibration you're feeling, the energy that's been upped inside you, the greater intensity, the greater power and vibration of this unconditional happiness. Feel how much of your tension and stress, sadness and discord has been taken away. Commit yourself to continue, to the best of your ability, channeling out of your heart, soul, the energy of happiness that allows a greater flow from above. Flow through you, making your life transformed with greater happiness, peace, clarity, joy, fulfillment. And remember, being thankful for this awareness, for this transformation, for this wisdom, these tools, and appreciate them more and more each day, raising the value that they have for you in your mind, that they can do more. And to anchor it into our heart and soul, to keep it with us more powerfully, more consciously, we take one more deep breath, anchoring it in with us forever, and slowly exhale and open your eyes. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a great week. Remember, those of you online or those of you here, share with me your miracles. You can write me here on Facebook. I'd love to hear how the Zohar and the Kabbalah has transformed your life. And I look forward to seeing you. God bless. Have a great day, evening, and a wonderful week till we meet again next week.
Thank you for joining us. If you liked what you saw, subscribe to this channel that you'll be notified when we post new videos. Share the video with your friends. They can also benefit. And check out the website, www.kabbalah.com. That's Kabbalah, for hundreds of articles and classes. Wish you an amazing day, and God bless.